SITREP World Briefing for May 24, 2026. Russia launched a large-scale overnight attack on Kyiv and the surrounding Kyiv region on May 24th, killing at least 4 people and injuring dozens more, as Ukrainian officials reported waves of drones and missiles striking the capital area. Moscow also confirmed that it used the hypersonic O missile in the barrage. Kyiv has been a repeated target throughout the war because it houses Ukraine's national leadership, major military command structures, and critical infrastructure. The strike followed Russia's stated vow to retaliate after accusing Ukraine of carrying out attacks on Russian-held territory, linking the Kyiv assault to a broader cycle of escalation between Moscow and Kyiv. The use of a missile reportedly capable of traveling at more than 10 times the speed of sound was noted by analysts as both a pressure tactic on Ukrainian air defenses and a symbolic message aimed at Ukraine's capital. For residents of Kyiv and nearby towns, the attack extended a pattern in which civilian districts around the metropolitan area have remained exposed. The latest bombardment showed how Russia continues to combine drones with high-speed missiles in an effort to overwhelm Ukrainian defenses and sustain pressure on the capital more than 4 years into the full-scale war. Attacks on Kyiv carry political weight because they test the government's ability to protect the seat of state authority and keep essential services running. Sunday's deaths, injuries, and reported use of advanced weaponry marked another deadly strike. A gunman opened fire at a security checkpoint near the White House in Washington on May 24th, prompting U.S. Secret Service officers to return fire and kill the suspect in a confrontation that also wounded a bystander. Police and federal security personnel then sealed off streets around the White House complex, producing a heavy law enforcement presence outside one of the most tightly protected government sites in the United States. The incident unfolded in the area surrounding the executive mansion, where layered checkpoints and rapid response teams are designed to contain armed threats. Investigators were examining motive, prior conduct, and whether the man had specifically targeted the presidential compound or its security perimeter. Any attack near the White House is treated as a national security event, because the building functions not only as the president's residence, but also as an operating center for executive decision-making, foreign diplomacy, and emergency command. The shooting disrupted movement around central Washington and highlighted the burden on the Secret Service, whose mission includes constant protection of the White House grounds, nearby checkpoints, and senior U.S. officials. Attacks in this zone trigger extensive lockdown procedures because the area contains federal offices, tourist routes, and secure transportation corridors used by the president and visiting leaders. The United States and Iran reported progress in Washington toward a framework agreement to end the war, with officials signaling that an announcement could be possible later on May 24th. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said a statement on the Iran war might come later Sunday. The talks have taken on exceptional weight because decisions made in Washington could shape regional security, energy markets, and the military posture of several states across the Middle East. President Donald Trump said the United States and Iran were getting a lot closer to an agreement, and reports described a decision window of roughly 48 hours around the proposed framework. Another element under discussion was the possibility of further peace talks hosted by Pakistan, showing that the diplomacy has expanded beyond bilateral contacts and now involves outside states seeking to shepherd a formal arrangement. Durable ceasefire or war termination deals in the region often depend on third-country guarantees, staged implementation, and mechanisms that both sides can present as politically defensible at home. The reported movement in Washington suggested that negotiators were shifting from exploratory contacts toward a more defined political framework, even if the final terms had not yet been publicly announced. For the United States, the talks carry implications for military commitments, alliance management, and oil shipping security. For Iran, they could influence sanctions pressure, battlefield calculations, and its wider regional position. By publicly indicating progress before any final declaration, leaders on both sides appeared to be preparing domestic audiences and international partners for a possible deal intended to halt the war. France said it was banning Israeli National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir from entering the country after the treatment of pro-Palestinian activists detained during an attempt to sail to Gaza drew French condemnation. The French government linked the decision to what it described as the brutalization of flotilla activists. The move is notable because France, a permanent member of the UN Security Council and a Central European diplomatic actor, rarely uses an entry ban against a sitting Israeli minister. Ben-Gvir, who oversees Israel's national security portfolio, has become one of the Israeli government's most polarizing figures because of his positions on Palestinians, policing, and the war in Gaza. France's action places additional strain on relations that have already been tested by the Gaza conflict, humanitarian access disputes, and European criticism of Israeli conduct. By tying the ban specifically to the detention and alleged mistreatment of activists trying to reach Gaza by sea, Paris signaled that confrontations around aid missions and solidarity flotillas now carry direct consequences beyond the Eastern Mediterranean, including in bilateral diplomacy with major Western partners. The United States and Iran indicated that negotiations had made significant progress, with President Donald Trump saying a deal was largely negotiated and framing the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz as part of the emerging arrangement. The waterway is one of the world's most important energy choke points, so any agreement affecting passage through it would carry immediate implications for oil shipping, regional security, and U.S. military posture in the Gulf. Public signals from Washington were reinforced by comments from Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who said there could be good news, while Tehran also pointed to progress in the talks. Iran made clear that the issue of nuclear weapons was not part of the initial framework under discussion, suggesting that the talks are being structured in stages rather than as a single comprehensive settlement. That distinction matters because U.S.-Iran diplomacy has repeatedly broken down when maritime security, sanctions, regional proxy conflict, and nuclear restrictions were bundled together. By emphasizing Hormuz and the broader confrontation first, Washington and Tehran appear to be testing whether a narrower deal can reduce immediate military risk, restore commercial traffic, and create space for more difficult negotiations later. Health authorities in Uganda confirmed 3 new Ebola cases on May 23rd, linking the infections to the outbreak in neighboring Democratic Republic of the Congo, as the World Health Organization raised its assessment of the Congolese outbreak to the highest level. African health officials also warned that 10 additional countries could face spread beyond the 2 states already reporting cases. Africa CDC said the countries at risk in addition to Democratic Republic of the Congo and Uganda are Angola, Burundi, Central African Republic, Republic of the Congo, Kenya, Rwanda, South Sudan, Tanzania, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. The warning reflects how quickly Ebola can move along regional travel routes. Uganda has confronted Ebola before, and rapid isolation, contact tracing, and border surveillance are likely to be central to the response in the coming days. The latest developments place pressure on authorities in Kinshasa and Kampala to contain transmission before it reaches larger urban centers or refugee corridors, where detection and follow-up can become more difficult. By confirming new Ugandan cases on the same day that international and continental agencies sharpened their warning on Congo, officials signaled that the outbreak is no longer only a national challenge for Democratic Republic of the Congo, but a regional test of surveillance, treatment capacity, vaccination strategy, and cross-border coordination. Sources are available at SITREP-brief.com.